Well, there's something very different about today's impeachment vote, something you certainly noticed if you were watching, because the last time the president was impeached, we watched him react in real time on Twitter. Of course, this time the president has been suspended from most social media sites, at least until after the inauguration next week of Joe Biden. Just a couple minutes ago, the president, through the White House, did release about a 5-minute video denouncing violence in general, but it is now his vehicle to speak with us. So Al Tompkins, the senior faculty at the Poynter Institute for Media Studies, joins us now. Al, it's good to talk to you again. Some defenders of the president pointing towards Twitter's decision made with others as well, on the right side, especially the right wing of the political landscape, saying this is a First Amendment violation, that they have the right to use Twitter, to use social media. Of course, that's not in any of the amendments. Social media didn't exist then. How do you see this newer landscape being parceled out?
Well, Tom, I looked it up. Since 2009, Donald Trump has issued 59,000 tweets. It'd be hard for him to make the argument that he has been muzzled on Twitter. The fact of the matter is that I think people misunderstand what the First Amendment says. I often joke that people are much more likely to know the 7 people on Gilligan's Island than the 5 freedoms of the First Amendment. And I can hear you right now going through the 7 people in your mind. I'll give you a second. But what I would say to you is the First Amendment does not guarantee that you have free right to speak on any platform, including this television station. And so what you have is the right to be able to express yourself however you wish, so long as you don't impinge on somebody else's right. But you don't have a right to go on to Facebook or Twitter or any other platform and say whatever you wish. I mean, for example, Facebook has long had a prohibition against pornography and nudity, for example. And other sites, websites, have all sorts of restrictions about what you can or cannot do on those websites. And so you don't have an unrestricted right to do whatever you want to do on somebody else's property. And let's face it, if the president of the United States wants to be heard, all he has to do is say, hey, here's a news conference, and everybody will come scramble and be there. It's not like they're not going to go. In fact, on my TV set, as I sit here in my little office right now, I see him on 3 monitors talking. So if he makes news or wants to make news, there's no doubt that he can.
Twitter had, of course, become his favorite flavor of oxygen, the way that he would reach more people. We're also seeing Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert talking about suspension of her account for a while today. It's been returned. She says it's happening to conservatives. The irony being, as you talk about people getting on television, today Marjorie Taylor Greene was speaking in the Well at the Capitol on national television, wearing a mask that said censored. So I guess it becomes more about what vehicles you want to use to reach people that you feel are your rights to use them.
Yeah, and there's this other friction. These social media companies are under a lot of pressure right now to do something about hate speech. And so on the one hand, we criticize them when they don't restrict hate speech. I mean, remember the New Zealand shooter who broadcast his mass execution on Facebook. And people are going like, wow, why didn't they stop that? Why couldn't they do something about that? They want restrictions. And I understand those requests. So on the one hand, they're saying, listen, let's restrict people who express hate speech. And on the other hand, when they do come in and start restricting, they get hammered for restricting hate speech or what they perceive to be hate speech. Now, here is what I believe an honest criticism, and that is whether they enforce these guidelines equally across all political spectrums. That's a legitimate conversation to have. And there have been many of these hearings in Congress on this, and in every single case, the nebulous evidence is that there's just no real proof that they're restricting conservative points of view unfairly or in an unduly way. There's always warnings that come before this. It never happens just out of the blue. And the other thing is that people who do get restricted very often end up becoming sort of poster children for the cause and get a lot more support because of it. So it becomes almost a medal of honor for them sometimes to say, "Oh, look, I'm so conservative that they are restricting me." So it's not always a downside for these people who get restricted because they sort of become poster children for the cause.
Yeah, the volume alone, when you consider how many tweets, how many posts, how many things are put up as videos or whatever, make it really hard to filter. This is a great discussion. We could certainly go on for a while. We'll get a chance to do that again in the future. Al, it's great to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
You bet. You bet.
Al Tompkins from the Poynter Institute here on 4 o'clock at 9 News. We'll be right back.